Hello there, welcome to Double Bill Movies, the home of the virtual Pinewood Studios tour. No, it's not going to be a big CG extravaganza view of the studios, and sadly I haven't taken any of my own film walking around the grounds of the studios. But there's plenty of people who have taken footage of the studios, and there's plenty of films that show off the studios in all their glory. Sometimes hidden in sets, but a couple of movies, it's just plain to see. It's just Pinewood Studios. So, if you have come across this video and are wondering how this is going to work, then let me explain to you. If you look in the description below, there will be a list of movies that you need to have physical copies of, that you can obviously put in your player, and I will give you a time code to search to look at the various scenes that show lots of different bits of Pinewood Studios. And so the first film is My Week with Marilyn, and it was basically a film about a film that was shot at Pinewood, but it was also shot at Pinewood. It's a true story, but it does show a lot of the grounds of Pinewood Studios and actually the stages themselves. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Trevor, and back in the mid-2000s I worked for a company that was based in the grounds of Pinewood Studios. That company was called Testronics, and what we did was quality assurance on all the sort of DVDs and Blu-rays that you have from that time period. And basically, with this pass, was allowed to walk anywhere I wanted to, except into the sound stages themselves. They require a different pass. But I spent 7 wonderful years there, so I've had lots of fun compiling together my notes in front of me to sort of talk you through what is Pinewood Studios. This will be a little bit of a time travel experience because My Week with Marilyn came out I think in 2011, and that was about when I left the company. Well, I was made redundant, but that's when I left Pinewood Studios, and I haven't really been back there since. And so lots have changed since then. The studios have grown since I popped back and did a little segment for one of my How Physical Media is Made series episodes. So what we are going to see are up until 2011 and not beyond. So anyway, I'll show you this little segment here, and it will give you an idea as to what we are going to see. So this is the double lodge where you saw me standing. This is the entrance. All this roofing here, this is what used to be the East Side Complex building, but we will get to see that from a much better angle. And then what we'll do, we'll come through here and through this little road. You won't actually see this, but basically if we were to be in the studio physically, we would be coming through here, and we come up to these trees here, and it would lead us into the gardens behind the mansion. So this is the mansion. These are now called the Hitchcock rooms at the back here. I did a drum clinic in there. I took my drums in just to let people have a go. Then we come out into the gardens. Now this is clearly not the best view I can give you, but I'm trying my best. So there's a big set that was built here, and you'll get to witness that. But then before this was as overgrown as it is now, you'll definitely see in one of the Bond films that we're going to look at, and also if you have it, Carry On Up the Khyber also features this area, but we'll be carrying on up through the gardens here. Now a lot of this is covered, what you saw on the other map There's a lot more sort of detail with the path and whatnot. And basically you sort of walk out through here. So this is U stage, the underwater. Basically it's a big water tank in there, and they do a lot of the underwater shots for like James Bond and all that kind of thing there. So we would come out through the trees and we could see the paddock tank over there, but we'll be coming back out here to this bit, which is just about on the picture, and that is where the street set now is. So then we'll go back up to the paddock tank. We'll see something that was shot using the entire paddock tank, and I have a little story of a little walk that my now wife and I came on one of our dates way before we were married. And essentially what we'd do is we'd walk up through here, past these buildings, and sorry about the shakiness, but the Marilyn Monroe film will show us all up here, and in these buildings here, and we'll walk up. Well, we won't physically walk up, but we can pretend that we're walking up, because you're going to see all this on the screen. And then we'll go through this cover here, and then out the back, and quite possibly this here and this used to be a Foley stage that I was telling you about. But then we're going to carry on all the way up here to a set that I've witnessed here, and then a big finale set which was built all around here. And then if you like, you can join me inside this lovely 007 stage for a bit of a party, and we can watch Aha perform The Living Daylights in a very empty 007 stage. And there we go. That's kind of the best overview flyover of Pinewood Studios I can give you. So let's get to the movies, and let's walk around, shall we? Okay, so that's a little guide as to where we're going to be wandering around. So if you want to put the first film in, and that is My Week with Marilyn, get it to the menu. Obviously you can just pause this, and so press play once the menu is loaded. You can skip all the trailers at the beginning, you don't have to sit and wait for them. And then the first time code you need to put in search is 8 minutes 33. So here we are at the main entrance, or the original main entrance, double lodge entrance to Pinewood Studios in Iverheath, England. So before we start the tour proper, there are some rules. So basically around the grounds of Pinewood Studios, obviously there is no smoking apart from any designated areas. There is strictly, and I mean strictly, no photography of any kind unless you have written permission from the studio. If you come across a movie star or someone you know that's famous from TV or somewhere like that, you're not allowed to approach them for autographs or anything like that. These people are at their place of work. You yourself wouldn't want to be at your place of work and have people bothering you for autographs and interviews and this, that and the other. So they are the rules that we were given when I worked there. Okay, so what you can see obviously is the double lodge and the Pinewood Studios sign out the front. Now the sign is correct, but the orientation is incorrect. This has just been done for the purpose of this movie. It would be orientated the other way, because the road in front of the studios obviously goes from left to right, and you wouldn't see it otherwise. So that's the only little thing there. But what you can see through the two gates, the in and the out gate, so the one on the left is the one that I used to go through in my little car, but you can see some very old vehicles, and one day when I was sat at work, which is actually the building you can just about see the roof of. If you look to the left above the old car and the pointy tree, there's a bit of roof, and that is the building I used to work in. At the time it was called the East Side Complex. The East Side Complex. Now I believe it is called the Peter Rogers Building, as it is actually on Peter Rogers Way. But I looked out the production office window, and you know, the morning I got there, and there were the normal cars parked there. But then as I looked out after lunch or whenever it was, suddenly I noticed some very old cars and thought, I think they're gearing up to do some kind of production here. And I was correct. It turned out to be this movie, My Week with Marilyn. So the next time code you want to put in, so now we can start the tour. We can basically wander in through the gates, and we'll head into some offices. So if you put in 9 minutes in your search option and press pause, or actually you can leave it running. So through those windows you can see the end wall of D Stage, the massive studio that is D Stage. So these are the production offices for Pinewood Studios, and obviously that's why Eddie Redmayne's character is in these offices. He's trying to get a job. I'm guessing this is how some of it would have worked. Not necessarily people wandering in off the streets, but getting the opportunity to come in and speak to someone and try and get their way into the film industry, and this is how he did it. So there we go, that is the production offices. Right, so having had that little scene play on, we've now cut to walking into, which is very clearly marked as B Stage. And if you have a glance back at your map that you should have hopefully printed out, you can sort of start to orientate yourself as to where you are. And okay, so these are in the little green huts behind D Stage and A and B and C Stage. And now we come out of E Stage. E Stage is in the background, so I've paused the picture and the camera's panned around slightly, and you can see down a road basically. And in the background there's like a roof with a green metal beam, and behind that is E Stage. And we are currently on, I think it's called Carpenter's Way, or Carpenter's Road, because to the left of us is actually the carpentry shops. Okay, so that covered roof that you see right in front of E Stage is actually called Covered Way. That will come up later on in the tour for a very famous movie with a very famous spy. Okay, so let's go to another time code now, and it will be 11 minutes 57. So if I go like that and press pause again, so actually it's 11 minutes 57. There we go. Right, so this is a corridor. Boring, I know, but this corridor is underneath the production offices we were in earlier. I have walked down these corridors, and I've walked through these doors that you're looking at right now. So behind us, behind the camera, let's say, we're just about to come outside. So if you let it play on a little bit, and this foyer here, you've got the four gentlemen in a line. If we were to turn round to our right and look at the wall, you would see a lovely plaque, which I shall put an insert here. and that plaque is of all the World War II film crew, photographers, and movie makers that was sent out to the battlefield during World War II. And I really enjoyed being able to sit and read all those. And to be honest, the doors in this foyer, apart from I think the ones in front of us, haven't really changed. I think they've basically kept them the same. The flooring is the same, so it has that old 50s look, or older 30s, that sort of, it's still of the period basically, as far as I remember. So yes, so these are below the offices, and so the next time code is 1504. So if I put in that myself, there we go. Press pause again. So I'm fairly sure this is part of the gardens, which we are going to look at more extensively later. So this will be an insert shot. If you watch the whole film, this scene is played outside a house. Now I think that house is elsewhere, but I think for this particular shot, it is the grounds of Pinewood Studios, and I believe that's one of the big pine trees, hence Pinewood. But yeah, it just shows what editing can do. When you put these films together, you can make many different locations look like one location. So let's see. And the direction we were looking at with this shot, if you've got it paused, would be towards the old mansion, which was obviously the mansion that was there before the owner decided to build a studio around it. Okay, so the next time code is 1550. Obviously, if I'm going too quickly, you can go at your own pace. Let's do that. 1550. There we go. I believe what the stage we are inside now for this scene is inside stage B. So you get an idea of, although this has been set up for a movie set, it's essentially how movie sets look. You've seen behind the scenes footage, and you've seen all the cameras and the lights and the props and everything. So essentially this scene here is just inside Studio B, and the original sort of environments that they were filming in, where you see bits of props leaning against the wall and this, that and the other. So let's see, next time code 1952, not the year, just 19 minutes 52. Okay, so let's do that, let's enter. So this is a slightly closer look at the double lodge that we started the tour at, and again you can see through the gate closer and see the old cars that I saw parked up. So as the road goes in, it bears round to the left slightly, which you could see if you look at your printed out map. There we go. Right, so let's go a little bit further on to 24 minutes 32. Oh, pressing the wrong buttons here. Let's do this correctly. 24 32. There we go. Okay, so here we are back in the corridors. So I've walked the full length of this corridor. This was the same corridor that we saw earlier, but the rest of it. And he's just come out one of the stage doors. Basically, there would be where you can just about see, maybe that's not a red light, but at the top of the screen above his head. But on the doors there would be red or green, whether you could enter or not, you know, whether there's a take going on, or whether it is free to open the door and step in. But a little bit further down this corridor, if you walking the direction we are looking at, you could turn left through a door, down another little corridor, and then you'd end up in covered way. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of where you can get to and whereabouts we are. There we go. Right, so now we go to 29 minutes. So let's put that in. Yeah, I'm doing this on a PS3, so it's not quite the same as putting in the numbers. It's 29 minutes, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. So where are we now? Right. What do my notes say? So if you look at your little map, this screening room is quite possibly theatre number 7. I think it's the biggest theatre in Pinewood Studios. I never got to go inside or anything like that, but I definitely walked past it or drove past it quite a few times in the 7 years I was at Pinewood Studios. And this is what it would have looked like back in the 50s. I imagine it's upgraded quite a lot since then, as movie technology has upgraded, and of course they need to keep up with their own, you know, moving forward with technology and this, that and the other. So okay, let's go. Going to go quite a bit further into the movie now, and the next time code is 5615. So, well, it's quite a long way, isn't it? 5615. There we go. Right, now, so you remember earlier on when I was saying that we were looking towards E stage. Well, again, we are much closer to E stage, and that little sort of part of the apex roof you can see, and the sort of walkway through that. I've walked through there plenty of times, and that takes you out to the little theatre that I think is the Foley stage. And I think it's the Foley Theatre, should I say, where they do all the footsteps and the closing of door sounds. And because if you don't know how movies are made, I'd say 95% of the sounds you hear are put on afterwards, because obviously invariably on set is so noisy that you wouldn't necessarily get the dialogue, so all the dialogue has to be re-recorded, and you wouldn't necessarily hear the footsteps or the opening of the doors or putting down of a cup or something, or even picking something up. All those sounds, they'll be recreated and put onto the film afterwards in post-production. So I think if we play this scene on a little bit, this particular scene, so I think what's going to happen is he gets in the car, and there's Dominic Cooper's character, and there's a little bit of trivia I've got coming up for you right at the moment. So he's just making sure where they're going. So let's let this car drive off, and if you pause it after right now where Dominic Cooper is standing by himself, the camera's just cut to him standing by himself. He is standing on the road, which is covered way, so that's why he's in a little bit of shadow, because there's a roof above him. Now if you look at the road markings a bit further back up by his shoulders, that road is called Goldfinger Avenue. Now, the little bit of trivia is, have you ever seen a 6-part series called Fleming? Where basically Dominic Cooper here played Ian Fleming in the series about Ian Fleming's life and his time in World War II. So there's a little bit of irony that he is now standing on Covered Way, which features in Goldfinger, and his shoulders are sort of covering Goldfinger Avenue at Pinewood Studios, and that he played the part of Ian Fleming. I just find that a little bit of brilliant trivia there. So there we go. That's so where else are we going to go to? Yeah, so that's what my notes say. Yeah, so I've just read out my own notes without actually having to read them. Isn't that good? Okay, so let's go on to the next film. The next film will be Johnny English 2 Reborn.